Welcome into the Your Illini Nation pregame show. We're on the road here in Iowa City as Illinois gets ready to take on Iowa. Maybe not the matchup as fans were anticipating after Illinois drops out of the AP poll for the second week straight. Maybe there was some hype surrounding Iowa. People anticipated they were going to be ranked, but I think it is a big opportunity for both teams. Iowa with a 6-game win streak here in this building so far this season, but Illinois hasn't won here at Carver-Hawkeye Arena since 2017. So I don't want to say a lot on the line, but there's a lot to play for Illinois in this sense, and kind of reaching a new milestone maybe, and being able to finally get a win in this building in the Brad Underwood era. They didn't play here last season, but they did beat the Hawkeyes, of course, in the Big Ten tournament and back at the State Farm Center early in January, February it was. But Derek, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
great to have you here on the road with us. What are you anticipating from this matchup and what we're going to see today?
Yeah, maybe not as sexy of a matchup as it has been in the past, where you got two teams that, last season were in the top 10, top 15. We'll miss seeing Luka Garza, Ayo Dosunmu, some of those familiar faces from the past couple of years. But you still have Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams, a couple of McCaffrey brothers, so still some animosity, I'm sure, between these two sides. And Iowa's going to want to beat Illinois, having lost 3 straight to the Illini since the last time actually they've been in this building, Super Bowl Sunday of 2020, when Iowa won a heated battle, that carried over in the handshake line where they got in each other's faces, and that really took this rivalry up to a 10. So, like you were saying, big opportunity for Illinois as they continue to trend in a very positive direction. Absolutely crushed Rutgers. Not necessarily surprising they won that game, but to beat them by 35, to beat Notre Dame the way they did, and how important it would be to start 2-0 in Big Ten play before you dive right back into the non-conference. You have Arizona coming up this weekend, which will be a really big test. But for Illinois, who's hoping to win a Big Ten title, the roadkill is really important, stacking those victories. And we know Purdue now, the nation's #1 team. If you're going to try to keep up with them in this Big Ten title chase, you got to be able to win on the road.
Sure, and it's maybe their first big road test since the Hall of Fame Classic that they played in Kansas City. Marquette was a big test for them. I think a lot of people expected them to come out with a win. Obviously, didn't turn out that way for Illinois, but I think their first Big Ten road game here in Iowa City, tension is going to be building, tempers flaring as we typically see it here with Illinois and Iowa playing against each other. But you mentioned the Rutgers game. What a way for Illinois to start out the Big Ten season, get an early Big Ten win against a Rutgers team that has consistently challenged Illinois. I mean, they have always challenged them in seasons past. What did you see from Illinois and what they were able to do? I was too busy covering a very good Illinois volleyball team that went to the Sweet 16, but I'm sure Illini fans were happy to see Illinois get that win over Rutgers and in such a dominating fashion as well.
Yeah, you really had to be, and you looked at Ron Harper Jr. as a guy that's really killed Illinois in the past couple of years, and Coleman Hawkins, having his length, his athleticism, had a really encouraging showing into what he did defensively, and we'll talk about another big test stepping up tonight against Keagan Murray, the nation's leading scorer. But for him to do that against Harper, hold him to 1 for 9 shooting from the field and only 4 or 5 points in that game was really encouraging for him specifically. And then offensively, you just continue to see a team that is moving the ball a lot better, seeing that chemistry, that identity come together. You're playing inside out, throwing the ball into Kofi, and his passing has gotten progressively better and better as this year has gone on. I know only 5 assists last year. He's already topped that through, I think he's only played 5 games so far this year with 7 assists. So his ability to pass it out of the post, find shooters around the perimeter. This is a team that is now living up to some of that billing of, hey, we're a better shooting team than we were last year. A big part of that is Alfonso Plummer is still looking at that left hand saying, man, it's on fire. 4 straight games over 20 points. That is a lot to get from a transfer guard that's playing with a ton of confidence.
Do you think that kind of success is sustainable? I mean, are you anticipating this to continue throughout the season? Because if it does, that's going to be very dangerous for whoever's playing Illinois.
Yeah, it'd be tough to imagine him at that 20-point mark, but in terms of being a guy that can make 3 or 4 threes, be capable of going on a heater and making 5 or 6 in a game, certainly that's something that he is definitely capable of. And to be one of the best 3-point shooters in the Big Ten, I think that's something that he's starting to play himself into. Now, being able to do that on the road when you're going to get some fans in your ear, and teams now circling him as someone that, we can't let this guy beat us now based on what he's shown here recently. So there's going to be more attention on him for sure. But I still think that this is just based on his track record. He did it in the Pac-12 and now coming to the Big Ten. And right now he's on pace to be towards the top of the list of most made threes in a season in Illinois history. So at this pace, which is still very early, but he's doing some impressive stuff right now.
Yeah, but Illinois is doing well as a whole from the three-point line, and I think that's a big reason for their success. You mentioned it before we hopped on here, that was a big part of their success against Rutgers. Was it just Plummer, or kind of did everyone contribute in that one in a sense?
Yeah, Jacob Grandison also shooting it really well now, 50% from three on the season. Luke Goody is showing that he's a threat from the outside, and while Trent Frazier's still trying to get his shot back, obviously a guy that's banged up, and you're just feeling thankful that he's on the court playing defense and being out there for you. Monte Williams is starting to show that the confidence is coming back. Once again, he hit a 3 or 2 against Notre Dame, did the same thing against Rutgers. So you're starting to piece this around Kofi, where if you're going to leave some of these other guys, Illinois has the weapons to be able to hurt you. I still think that Coleman Hawkins can get it going a little bit more from 3. Like I mentioned, Trent Frazier is much more capable than he's a little bit below 30% right now. A guy that can very easily get to 35 plus, close to 40% if he's healthy. So this is a team that now, when you think about Kofi's dominance and the attention that he attracts, and you can put the three-point shooting around him, it makes teams, as Jacob Grandison said after the game against Rutgers, pick your poison on how you want to try to guard this Illini squad.
Sure. No, I think it's going to be a very different matchup today than we've seen in the past, especially with the big man battle that we've seen so many times between Luka Garza and Kofi Coburn. How do you anticipate that to change with Iowa losing Garza and several other players from last season's offense?
Yeah, I was going to miss Luka tonight, and they also lost his backup, Jack Nunge, who transferred to Xavier. So they're reloading down low, and they have a transfer from North Dakota who's 6'9", 230. You're giving up some size, some weight to Kofi. That's going to be a problem. And they just came off a game, though, to their credit, where, number one, they didn't have Keagan Murray, who's their 4-man, 6'8", very athletic, leads the nation in scoring about 25 per game, a good rebounder as well. He didn't play with an ankle injury against Purdue, expected to be back tonight, so he definitely helps the interior presence. But to that point, they went into Purdue where you know that they have the big men and hung in that game. I know they were down by 19 at one point, but rallied all the way back to cut it to 2 and made Purdue sweat that thing out at the end. So they did a good job of limiting Zach Edey. Travion Williams really hurt them on the glass, had 18 rebounds, but you'll see Iowa double the posts a lot. I think that Kofi will be a rare occasion where he catches and only sees one guy on his back. They're going to have to send multiple guys at him, and that's why it's important for Illinois to continue to shoot the 3, for Kofi to make good decisions with the ball. But on the glass, Kofi should give them problems all night long.
Yeah, and for Iowa, I think Purdue's now the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
In today's poll, they moved up from number 2 to number 1. For them to hang in there and give Purdue a fight, I think says a lot about this Iowa team. And I kind of feel like these two teams are maybe in the same situation as far as graduating or losing a couple players to the NBA draft, as Illinois tries to find out what this team is like without Aya DeSumo. I think Iowa's in a similar situation, trying to find out who they are without Luka Garza.
Yeah, they definitely are. And also lost Joe Wieskamp, CJ Frederick transferred to Kentucky, so they had a handful of exits, but you still have Jordan Bohannon back. So on that similar note, you have the veteran come back and still try to sustain the success a little bit longer. And Keagan Murray showed last year that he was going to be a promising player. Now, to play up to this level where he's going to be in the conversation for first team All Big Ten, that's a huge step for him to take. His twin brother, Chris, was
Murray twins.
They're scary together. Chris didn't play a whole lot last year, but he's doing some things. But yeah, to your point, still trying to, even with the past success, what you've done here, even as recently as last year, you still got to earn your stripes and come together, new chemistry, a couple of new pieces, and figure this thing out early on in the season. So it's going to be interesting, these two sides clashing together tonight, and to feel again what it's like. I know, Marquette, you were there as well. And,
sure.
That true road environment, I know you're really going to feel it tonight here in Iowa City.
Yeah, you've been in this arena before. I mean, is this the equivalent of a Michigan State or that type of venue? Is it similar? Indiana, I've never been to Indiana before, but I know that's also a tough place to play.
It's up there. It can definitely be up there, and I know that with the rivalry of Illinois and Iowa and just kind of a hunger to beat Illinois again, I'm sure that it's going to be rocking tonight. And let's be honest, Iowa has overachieved a little bit. I know that their schedule early on, their first 6 games were against cupcakes, as you would say. They won at Virginia in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. It was a nice win for them, and then to compete against Purdue. So they've looked better than some people would have thought, so maybe that gets a little bit more of a turnout. But this has traditionally been a very tough place to play. The previous 2 seasons in Big Ten play, they're 17-3 in Big Ten home games. So this has been a tough environment to come in here. and win. Obviously, Luka being the National Player of the Year was a big part of that as well. But yeah, I'd say it's up there with some of the better environments in the league. Mackey, you think of Michigan State, Indiana, Illinois is up there as well. So
you've been to all of them,
yeah,
I imagine, at this point.
It'll be a tough place.
Yeah, this is my first time here at Carver Arena, so I'm excited to see what it's like. I'm noticing like the place where we usually shoot our video, we're standing on it right now, it is very close. I think at the State Farm Center it seems a little pushed back. I feel like everything is sort of on top of us here, so I'm interested to see what it kind of feels like here. But Illinois has established themselves, especially last season, as a tough Big Ten road team. I think this would be kind of the first stepping stone in trying to get there and becoming a tough road team, because 2 of their losses this season, their only 2 were on the road. So you mentioned Keagan Murray, and he's expected to be out, or expected to play tonight. I'm looking for him, but I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to tell which twin he is. I wish they wore numbers in warm-ups, but Andre Curbelo appears to be
difference. Chris is a lefty, Keegan's a righty, so lefty out there shooting. Chris is out there. That might be. I think that's his brother right next.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so he is getting some shots up pre-game. Looks like he could be back in the lineup tonight. Andre Curbelo, just noticing he is in sweatpants. I don't think that comes as a surprise. Brad Underwood told us in the press conference this week that his status remains the same, so I interpret that as remains the same as it was against Rutgers, and probably will not play tonight. I imagine that will be the case, but we can't say so for sure. Who knows? This team likes to surprise us sometimes with guys who come out and end up playing. But let's talk about Keagan Murray a little bit. Looks like he might be playing tonight. What kind of a threat does he pose for Illinois and being one of the nation's top scorers?
He's a really difficult matchup because with his size, he can do so many different things, and he's athletic. He's got long arms. He can put the ball on the floor, and it's a guy that is comfortable and a threat, whether he's backing you down in the paint, whether he's in the mid-range and be able to shoot the jumper, or out to 3 where he's going to try to take big men off the dribble. He's going to be able to shoot the 3 a little bit, and just a very active and athletic type of player, can really finish well around the basket. So Coleman did a very good job again against Ron Harper of challenging him and not giving him open jump shots. I think Keagan has shown that he can do a little bit more in terms of getting to the basket. And I think that Keagan will try to be a little bit more physical with Coleman tonight. So that's something that you got to watch out for and make sure that Coleman, number one, doesn't get in foul trouble, and also just able to handle that kind of contact. Because I think that if Coleman were to struggle here tonight or get in foul trouble, Illinois doesn't really have another matchup that you really are feeling good about at that 4 spot, just based on the kind of prototype that he is, because Jacob Grandison's given up some inches and some athleticism. Obviously, DeMonte's 6'4" versus 6'8". So Keagan has just played with a ton of confidence and just made plays all over the floor, and a guy that you got to be able to know where he's at, each and every time down the floor.
So what you're saying is this one's going to come down to Coleman Hawkins tonight.
He's a very, very big key. Very big key.
How confident are you in his ability to shut him down? You mentioned he did that against Rutgers. Do you think he can handle this big test here in Iowa?
I think he can handle his own. I wouldn't expect him to shut down Keagan by any means. Now, I'd be interested to see how he looks early on with the ankle. Is he limited at all? Is he showing any rust from not playing in the game? He's only missed 1 game, so it's not like he's been out for a couple of weeks here. But I would expect Coleman to be able to hold his own. But at the same time, you got to remember this is a sophomore that has not yet, to our discussion earlier on, played well away from home. Like, he started off really well early on in the regular season. They go to Marquette, he struggles, even in Kansas City. Him playing really good basketball and consistent basketball is still something he's got to put together. So he has a lot of talent, a lot of athletic ability, obviously versatility and what he can do offensively. But here tonight, you want to see him actively engaged mentally, to not have this be too emotional of a spot. When you get the crowd going on, it's a big game. Sometimes you can try too hard and force the issue. So hopefully he's dialed in a good mental space, and obviously having some teammates around that can help out a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I think that's just a sign of the youth for this team, and maybe them not being able to handle their emotions the same way that a veteran would. But speaking of some of the youth, have you been impressed with Luke Goody? I know Brad Underwood had a lot of great things to say about him, and especially his leadership and his charisma that he brings to the court. I think he's really coming into his own a little bit with this Illinois team.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Luke because you watch him, he doesn't look like a freshman. He's a guy that you trust out there on the floor, not making a whole lot of mistakes, and he does just have a very tough demeanor about him, and you see him like picking up his teammates and being vocal in huddles, and that's impressive to see for a guy that has veterans around him, and Trent and DeMonte and Kofi, and you just listen to those guys talk about him, and you can tell that he's a guy that's already earned that trust, and someone that they value what he has to say. So that's been important, and then he's a shot maker. He's a guy that you kick it out to him on the perimeter. If Kofi's getting doubled, you trust him to make a shot, and just someone that, Brad talks a lot about not making mistakes and having guys out there defensively that he can trust. Luke, so far up to this point, has been that, so that's been very encouraging, and just having more depth as someone off the bench that, can be a rotational piece. That's something that he's earned, and he's going to be a good role player as this year progresses, and has a lot of potential, obviously, as he settles into his Illini career.
Sure, and Brad also commented on Omar Payne and him seeing maybe some increased minutes and finding his role on this team a little bit. What have you seen from him, and do you expect, what do you expect from him, if at all, he gets some decent minutes tonight?
I just like to see Omar rebound in the last game. That's something that, being 6'11" and having that long wingspan and athleticism, a guy that you would expect to make an impact on the glass, and he had his season high in rebounding in the first half against Rutgers. He had 5 halfway through into the game, 7 rebounds. I know he didn't ultimately even attempt a shot, which you don't need from him right now. That's something that maybe progresses as he settles in and gets a little bit more comfortable. Someone in the pick and roll, once you get Curbelo back there, can find him on those lobs and everything. But if he can rebound, he can play defense, if he can block some shots. I know Illini fans loved when he swatted one off the glass against Paul Mulcahy, a guy that's not very likable in Illini land. So maybe against McCaffrey tonight, I think that would really get him into the good graces of the Illini fan base. But it was an encouraging sign for Omar, because this is a guy that's played high major basketball down in Florida in the SEC. So you've kind of been waiting for it to come around, and you're not asking a whole lot. And playing behind Kofi, if he can just do some of those little things that he's certainly capable of, that's something to build on. He definitely did that against Rutgers.
Yeah, and offensively for Iowa, we mentioned Keagan Murray, but who else would be a potential threat against Illinois, especially when you mentioned the defense and Coleman Hawkins needing to step up. Trent, of course, has been sensational on defense for a couple seasons now, but who else can they maybe, target a little bit and help to, shut a couple other their weapons down?
Yeah, I know with Trent, Jordan Bohannon's a guy that's now in his 6th year at Iowa, been around forever. You got a couple of these guards that, man, they're 25, 30 years old. It almost seems like that. But Bohannon can get on a heater from distance. He had 6 threes in the game against Virginia. That's kind of been his MO throughout his career, as a guy that can get very, very hot from deep. He doesn't really he has the green light really as soon as he steps across half court, and shoot him from 5 feet behind the 3-point line. So within NBA range, you got to make sure that you're on him. And Trent's had some success. I know that when he was in Champaign last year for that battle, I believe Bohannon only made 1 or 2 shots and had a tough night. Now he put 20 up against Illinois at the Big Ten tournament. So he's certainly one you want to make sure isn't getting on a burner and feeling good about himself in this game. So Trent being up in his face, and while Bohannon for most of his career has played point guard, this year he's played more off guard, running off screens, and they've inserted Joe Toussaint, who's a very quick, speedy point guard that gets up and down in transition. And if Trent's guarding Bohannon, Alfonso Plummer probably draws that matchup. So while we talked about
Toussaint?
Yeah, with Toussaint. So while we've talked about Plummer as a shot maker, I know that defense maybe hasn't always been his strength. So this could be a test tonight to keep the ball in front of him and not let Toussaint get to the rim.
Okay, Bohannon certainly likes to speak his mind on Twitter. I know that firsthand. If you know, you know. But
I just got that's right. Memories.
In the arena with all my haters. If you know, you know. But we won't get into that.
He said after that game something about, he got into it with Illini fans and said, "We'll see if that banner, that Big Ten championship tournament banner, will stay up in the rafters." He had kind of a
okay. Well, now I feel like we have to explain it a little bit. Well, you know what? This ties in a little bit to the Rutgers game, because I saw a couple similar photo that was tweeted, and I'm like, oh, careful. You don't want the Iowa fans to see it. So I'm sure if you're an avid Illinois fan, you've seen the picture of the guys, huddled up when somebody is shooting a technical foul. I tweeted a photo of that at the Big Ten tournament of Illinois huddled up and the Iowa guys standing there. Nothing against Iowa, it just was a clear-cut difference between the two. Tweeted it, and the Iowa fans did not like it. Jordan Bohannon did not like it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna need to walk around here.
If you did something that Bohannon didn't like, a lot of fans out there are pretty happy about it. I can assure you.
Fair enough. So this one, I think we know. It's gonna, like we mentioned before, get a lot of tension, tempers blazing, and all that. But the biggest keys for you, Derek. Let's wrap up real quick, as we are about an hour away from tip-off. Biggest keys for you tonight, and for what Illinois needs to do to get a win.
Just want to see more composure out of Illinois, based in comparison to what they showed at Marquette and on the road, even in the Cincinnati game against Kansas City, in Kansas City. Iowa, one key to their comeback against Purdue was upping the full court pressure and pressing 94 feet, and that's something that without Andre Curbelo, obviously Trent Frazier can be a ball handler, but can Illinois not have the turnover bug start to come back and bite you and give Iowa easy opportunities going the other way? So being able to remain composed when they put that pressure on, execute your offense, because there's a tendency when that happens to rush things and get out of sorts and try to force the issue, and Iowa wants you to be in a hurry, and I think Illinois just needs to be composed and do their thing offensively, and also understand that Iowa, they're number 5 in the country in offensive efficiency. They're going to score. There's going to be some runs here. They were up 21 points in the first half at Virginia. Virginia came all the way back and took the lead there. Purdue down 19, cut it to a 2-point game. So this team has had big spurts both ways. Iowa's going to score. This crowd's going to get going. Just stay composed, stay together, and be able to execute. And Coleman Hawkins, we talked about it earlier. Do your best against Keagan Murray. If you can keep him under 25 plus, you might be in a good spot.
Yeah, and Iowa's forcing quite a few turnovers, aren't they?
Did I read that correct? 17 against Purdue. So that was something that really played into them being able to come back.
Sure, especially with Illinois' struggles with their turnovers. How badly can that hurt them? Tonight, I imagine ball security is going to be very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, full court pressure, that's something that they want to be able to take the ball away, and Illinois has had that turnover bug. And recently, Rutgers, Notre Dame, they took care of the ball a lot better. But we'll see if they're able to do that tonight. And I think Kofi having the ball in the post when the double teams come and not turning it over, making the right pass, is definitely part of that as well. And if Illinois continue to shoot threes well, make Iowa pay for sending that double team, they'll continue to be on the right track to maybe get another victory.
All right, what is your score prediction? Illinois 3-point underdogs in this one, according to Vegas?
I have Illinois 79, Iowa 75. High-scoring game. Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams get their first win in this building. There's not many in the Big Ten that they haven't won at, but this is one of them.
Yeah, 81 is popping into my head. Okay. So that's the number I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Illinois 81, Iowa 77.
Kind of got like a fortune teller vibe when you do that.
Yeah.
81's popping in my head.
I don't know. It popped in. That's the number we're rolling with.
All right.
I think it's going to be close. I think it should be a good fight tonight, and excited to see how this one ends. I think it would be good and exciting on our ends as the selfish media members that we are to see Illinois come away with the win and get a good storyline out of it, because I think it does make our job more fun when this team is successful. But what do we have coming on Illini Inquirer? If you want to plug that real quick before we wrap up here.
Yeah, if you want to check out my preview, you still got some time to do that on the site, and then afterwards, Joey and I will have reaction takeaways, player grades from Jeremy, and everything you can want. Basketball side, and they got football covered as well. Transfer quarterbacks, have you heard me talk about them?
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal these days.
The Jersey guy.
Yeah.
Has an Italian last name, if I ever
DeVito, right?
DeVito? Yeah. Oh, man. All right, Derek, thank you so much for joining us here on the Illini Nation pregame show. Again, you can find all of his content on Illini Inquirer. We'll also have more coming tonight at 6 and 10 on WCIA, including Brad Underwood's postgame press conference, which will stream on our digital channel. So wherever you're watching right now, Twitter, Facebook, or the WCIA app, you can tune in right here again after the game to hear Brad Underwood's thoughts. And that'll do it for us here at Carver-Hawkeye Arena. It is a 6 o'clock tip-off on Fox Sports 1. For Derek, I'm Marley. Have a good night and enjoy the game.